Well, welcome back to episode 2 of Dollars and Cents. But as always, we're going to keep it real, as in real estate. Today, we're going to talk about your kids and investing in their future. We want to get in front of that planning and saving for the higher education expenses. When you work with me to finance your home, we're going to talk about more than just the house you want to buy. We're going to talk about some life goals, your family, expenses coming up, and much more. See, when I sit down with a client and we're going through a loan application, there's questions on there about the number of dependents and what are their ages. Those questions aren't just part of the application that we should look over and not think about, but rather it gives me an idea of additional questions I can ask to hopefully secure your kid's future. If you're coming to me and saying, what's the absolute most home I can buy? May not be the right question to ask if you've got 3 teenagers and you've never put money away for college. And these are the kind of things that hopefully are a differentiator. When you sit down with me, you're going to know that I actually care about the future. Trust me, as a father with a couple of teenagers of my own, I know the expenses you're facing. And so we're going to talk about it, see if we can maybe get ahead of it, maybe learn some tricks, even if you're behind a little bit, to make sure those kids are taken care of. So a little later in the show, we're going to bring out a true expert, Eric Wood over at Huntleigh Securities. Eric's a successful financial advisor, works with families all the time, and a lot of times I'll only take you so far when we're sitting down and going through things, but if I see some holes or maybe some a lack of short and long-term planning, I'll get you over to an expert like him, and we can go from there. So stick around, we'll bring Eric in, and thanks for listening. Don't shop mortgage lenders and ask, what are your rates these days? And here's why. You're asking the wrong question. And it's a question that could cause you to choose the wrong lender. The truth is that you can choose whatever rate you want to some extent. Each mortgage lender can give you a range of rates based on your credit score, current financial markets, and most importantly, how much money you're planning on putting down. Yes, there is a correlation between how much you pay in closing costs and ultimately the mortgage rate you receive. I worked with a couple here recently who almost switched lenders in the middle of the application process because they walked into their local bank and were offered a lower rate. Guess what? The bank wanted them to pay $5,500 more up front to save $17 a month. Now, does that make sense? So the truth is, what are your rates is often the wrong question. Find a mortgage lender that you trust and work with them to choose the right interest rate for you. All right, well, welcome back. As promised, I am here with the expert, Mr. Eric Wood at Huntleigh Securities. Eric, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, so we're talking about college, we're talking about saving up and what it's going to cost. How early do you recommend that people kind of come to an advisor and really start thinking about putting money away for college?
Well, as soon as possible.
That's easy answer, right? But let's say I'm looking at a loan application and I see someone that has kids that are, I don't know, 5, 10 years old, whatever it is. I mean, how much more beneficial would it be for those people to have started at birth versus waiting till, say, they're 10 years old?
Well, so I did just some simple math to look at the compounding. If you started at zero at inception with $100 a month, you'd have about 3 times as much as if you waited until your child was 10 years old. Right.
And you mentioned $100 a month. I mean, how much, if I put away $100 a month at inception, simple 7% is a number that seems to be the number everybody likes to use.
Sure.
I'm sure you would make more for your clients than 7%, but we'll use that for illustration purposes. How much money would that give us when the kid's 18?
You'd have about $48,000.
Okay.
And for perspective, the projected cost of a public education for just 4 years, it would be $163,000.
Okay, so we're going to fall short.
Way short.
$200 a month, closer to $100,000. $300 a month, closer to $150,000. That's probably, so if you're a parent out there that is trying to get your kids a head start, you're talking $300 per month per kid from birth to hopefully be prepared.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a lot. And when I'm looking at loan applications, it's interesting because, you know, there's a part on there that talks about how many dependents do you have and how old are they. This is one of the things that, you know, I can kind of eyeball and say, maybe we shouldn't stretch you into the absolute most expensive home you can get. Maybe we turn them over to the expert and you can help them out with some of this. So kids are expensive. That's for sure. Earlier the better.
One of the things I like that you mentioned there, when you're looking at that, is cash flow management.
Right.
And being able to protect not only your mortgage payment, but your savings for other life events.
Right.
Like children.
Children are a life event, and there's expenses that come along with it. I mean, whether it's depending on their ages, you've got sports involved, you've got buying their first cars involved. There's all kinds of things, and that's why. And it's amazing. I sit down with people that make all kinds of varying levels of income, but how many truly don't have their own financial advisor to do this stuff? So, all right, well, good stuff. Tell me where you came up with some of these numbers, or if I'm a consumer out there and, I just kind of want to take a peek at what I think college is going to cost. If I want my kid to go to, community college or go to Stanford, where do you get these numbers from?
Sure. So the best resource, and the one I use, is savingforcollege.com.
Okay.
You can go to that website. You can plug in how much you've already saved, how much you want to save, what school specifically you want to go to.
Oh, wow.
They can tell you the current cost of tuition, what your savings might grow to, what the shortfall will be. You can dig deep, compare every plan. Every state just about has their own plan.
Gotcha.
And you can compare fees, performance, anything you want to see is there.
I'm almost scared to look. I got a 15 and 16-year-old, as you know, and I think I'm close, but a website for me to go to as well. So, last thing we talked about was, obviously you think you've got from inception to 18, but what kind of tricks can you do if maybe you are a little short? Are we just done? The kid turns 18, goes to college, and that's it? If whatever we have, and whatever else we have to borrow, what kind of tricks can we do?
Yeah, so you actually have, depending on how long your child goes to school, you could have to age 22 or 23, right? We don't pull all the money out at age 18 and say, we're done here. So that's something to consider. Other strategies that we can use is have your child get a loan.
Yep.
If they can get it based on need. And then this is a teaching experience, right? Let them see that they have a debt and that it's accruing, and it will be deferred, so that the interest isn't there, right? And then that buys you basically 4 more years.
Or 5.
Right.
Right.
And you look at the end, when your child graduates, you watch the ceremony, you get a gleam in your eye, a little tear. You come back to the house and you say, son or daughter, I'm so proud of you. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay off your student loans for you.
Right.
Right? It's a great reward and a learning experience for them. And your money then was invested for that 4 or 5 years longer, which could make a huge difference.
Huge difference, especially if you've been, putting a decent amount away. And you can continue to invest throughout those years as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, great stuff. Well, Eric, I actually truly appreciate you doing this. I know I learned a lot. Hopefully some of the audience did as well. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me in.
All right.